Hey, so what is going on, everyone? It is me, Mr. Mario, and these are going to be my thoughts, my opinions, anything like that, what I have to say over Halo 5 Guardians for the Xbox One. Is it worth playing? Is it worth buying an Xbox One for? Is it worth the purchase? Well, let's go ahead and talk about that right here. Now, first off, I want to say, before I want to get into this review, I need to let you all know that I'm going to be talking about the story here a bit, and I'm going to try and keep it to the basic core fundamentals of the story itself if I go into depth with it, so I'm going to try and avoid spoilers. However, because I'm going to be talking about some stuff, I'm actually going to be spoiling parts of Halo 4 because this is a sequel in the franchise and a direct sequel to Halo 4. So if you don't want any of those spoilers at all from this game, from any of the previous games, for the lore in general, if you look on screen, I'm going to make sure I have something that will just say you can skip to this part of the video so you don't have to get any of the story spoilers or anything like that, so that you can get a review of the campaign and multiplayer and my final thoughts on it while effectively skipping the story. Now, if you are here and you want to listen to the whole review, well, thank you very much for that, and with that, we're going to get into the story first. So, for anybody that does not know, I normally purchase Halo for the campaign. I am a big Halo fan. I've enjoyed it since it first came out on the original Xbox with Halo Combat Evolved, and I've been following the series ever since. Now, with this game, this is coming off of Halo 4, and a lot of people loved Halo 4, and a lot of people also hated Halo 4 for various reasons. Honestly, that is my favorite in the series, right next to Halo 3. It's like neck and neck with Halo 3 right now, but I personally loved Halo 4. I loved the multiplayer on it, I loved the campaign on it, so this did have some competition with that, and I wanted to see what was going on right here. So what is it that makes Halo 5 different, and what happens here? Well, you play as two different characters. You play as Locke, and you play as Chief, or John. I'll refer to him as either or on there. You're going to play as Spartans both times, so it's not like the Arbiter where whenever you play as him, you are a completely different life form. No, you are both Spartans. Now, what's going on is Chief is kind of going crazy after the events of Halo 4, and he's just doing mission after mission after mission, and he's no longer solo anymore. He now has a team with him, and what's going on is while he has this team with him, they just keep hunting for Cortana because he's trying to go around the galaxy and find her. Then he ends up finding a lead on her, and he goes to find her. However, this is also conflicting with Locke's plans because it was actually his team that was tasked to go over there. So during that time, they actually end up seeing each other, they fight each other a bit, and there's a bit of stuff that ends up happening. So what ends up happening from here on out is now Locke is going after Chief because he needs to stop him, which is this really, notorious thing going on because he is stopping, the most famous Spartan or the most infamous Spartan in the galaxy, and then Chief is just, trying to kill anyone in his way, getting between him and Cortana, because right now, he believes that Cortana exists, but even he is second guessing it, and everyone around him thinks he's crazy, but they can't really do anything about it because he's Chief. Now, this is also the first Halo game to have a subtitle in it, at least in the main Halo franchise between 1 and 5. So what does Guardians mean? What is up with that? Well, in short, they are big, giant beings that end up getting activated at one point, and I'll show some footage of them up here, but I'm going to leave the rest of it to you all if you decide to, watch any type of Let's Play of the game or play through it yourself. Now, because you are doing the Halo 2 thing right here and you're playing between two different characters, it seems like you'd play about 50-50. That's actually not the case, and that is one issue I had with the game itself and the campaign. You play more as Locke than as Chief. Chief, in my opinion, does get the more fun, the better missions, but you play like 35% of the game as Chief, and then the rest of it as Locke. And the problem is, Locke isn't a bad character, his teammates aren't bad characters either, but there's really no dimensions to them, and by that I mean I went through this game and I have no attachment to Locke. Locke and his entire team can die and I really wouldn't care, unlike, in other Halo games where whenever there was a death of a character, normally it seemed like a bigger deal, for example, Johnson or Keyes or even Cortana, talking about that right here. But with Locke, I didn't really learn anything about him, and at one point, near the end, you do learn a bit where Cortana is pretty much blackmailing them and bringing up some of their past of the team right there. But aside from that, you really don't learn too much aside from, playing other Halo games, reading up on backstory, and that little tidbit right there. So I didn't really see them as very dimensional characters. They're very flat characters, and I'm sure they can grow more in other Halo games, but in this one, not so much. There's also several short missions in this game as well. There are 15 missions, and 4 of them are pretty much talk to this person, talk to that person, talk to another person, and you're done. In addition to that, the game to me did feel much easier than several other Halo games, and whether that is because the game has been dumbed down or casualized, or because the game has different types of enemies, because now you're going against more of the Prometheans instead of, the Flood. And the Covenant is still there as well too, but in my opinion, most of the time the Prometheans are an easier enemy. But I don't know if the game itself has actually been made easier or not, so that might turn off some people. Also, the campaign is pretty short. Now, with me just messing around and even probably sitting for like 30 minutes or an hour, I beat it within 7.5 hours, but honestly, it's probably realistic enough that you could beat it in 6 or 6.5. Now really, here's the disappointing thing with this. The story is the weakest part of the game. Now, in my opinion, the worst story out of the Halo franchise, from the games that I have played, would probably be Halo 2. I did not like the Halo 2 storyline in there or anything like that, and there's people that either love it or hate it. This is not as bad as Halo 2, in my opinion, but it leaves a lot to be desired. You pretty much go from mission to mission. You're not really seeing much of what's going on. There's some cutscenes. You don't delve into the depth of the Halo universe, while as in Halo 4, for example, they were pretty much rewriting the Halo lore in many parts and adding to it. Here, not really, and it was really disappointing to see that as well. The thing is, you also need to realize that this is pretty much a primer for Halo 6, because Halo 1 through 3 was the trilogy for the Flood. Halo 4 through presumably 6 is going to be the trilogy, hopefully it's a trilogy, for the Promethean and the Forerunner era right there. So, Halo 4 introduced you to that. Halo 5, that's just the little bridge between the two, and this definitely does leave you at a bit of a cliffhanger. Not as bad as in Halo 2, but a cliffhanger enough to the point where it's like, damn it, now I have to play Halo 6 in a few years, and that's going to be a few years away, so what now? It seems like I'm bashing the story a bit, and I'm not trying to, but it's just, there's not enough story, and especially enough of a quality story to really warrant, any more positive things to it. And even going outside of what I played in the game itself, when we saw, some pre-release trailers and all that, for example, Chief in the Desert and all that, none of that was in the game itself. Now, there were some references to it, but those same scenes, nothing like that was in there. So you can go into this game doing all that, but even one big thing that I was disappointed with, going from the advertisements of this game to this, is the whole, Chief being a traitor thing and all that. Yeah, no, none of that is covered in this. None of that. Like, they completely glaze over that. So you're going to go through this game, you're going to be like, okay, well, if I didn't see any of those advertisements, I never would have thought of Chief as a traitor, so what's going on here? Now, enough of the story, let's go ahead and get to the campaign itself, because I didn't have many good things to say about the story, but I do have a lot of good things to say about the campaign. First off, the campaign and the whole game itself runs at a smooth, solid 60 frames per second, and it creates a nice, fast-paced, fun, and intense campaign experience and Halo environment for any players new and old. You also get 4 players per team where you are playing as one player, and this is in single player or co-op. Now, the cool thing is with that, if you get downed or if you get shot or anything like that, you can actually ask for help and you can get revivals, and you can also revive your other teammates. Plus, if your teammates die, you're not going to get explicitly punished for it like you would have to restart to the previous checkpoint or anything like that. They will eventually revive, but your teammates can now revive you, which really helps out. The only times it really does not work is if you get disintegrated, or if you fall off a ledge, or of course if you bleed out and die. This also works with either Spartan, so Locke or John, which is really cool to see because this is something that I was wanting for quite a bit. There's new gameplay mechanics that are thrown into here as well too, so they brought sprinting back from Halo 4, that was kind of in Reach, and they brought it into Halo 4, but now you have unlimited sprinting in here. They also have sliding, you can climb up on short ledges and all that as well too, and boosting through environments and just tearing things up as well. So nice things that have been added in that add to, the natural evolution of the series. Promethean weapons are also pretty awesome as well too. They've added in new weapons, they've added in new vehicles that are definitely fun to, take a spin and try out, but the Promethean weapons, they're impressive, they're fun to use. There's new enemies as well too, so you have, all the old enemies from Halo 4 that have been changed and upgraded in various ways. You also have new enemies that are thrown in as well too, and overall, just because of all the battles and all, because I noticed there's many times where it feels like there's more enemies on the battlefield than there was in previous Halo games, it delivers a really intense experience. Now, because this is a Halo game, and because we are talking about the campaign here, it's always been known to be a linear campaign, and that's really how this is as well, too. It stays linear. You know, it opens up a little bit at sometimes, you know, you'll have different routes that you can take, but still mostly linear campaign. You really can't get lost playing this. But the level design of the levels really impressed me. You know, the levels are all fun to play through. They're very clean. They've been set up really well. They all look great as well, too. But in addition to that, because of, you know, the new gameplay elements and such that allow you to, you know, climb to different areas and everything, they do reflect that in the levels, and they want you to change that. So you see a lot more times where you can take either the high road or the low road on here, and you're getting to the same destination, but you're able to, you know, split up your team a bit more and everything. In addition to that, if you do have, you know, AI on you or anything, you are able to command them. So you could say, you know, go over here, attack, anything like that. So you're able to get, you know, some basic command of your AI. Not really intricate, but enough to get by in the game. Now again, this game is also short. The campaign is short. It can be beat in about 6 hours or so, but because of that, they also got the pacing done pretty well. It is a fast-paced game, and they keep you going the whole time, so there was not a single time I was bored while playing this. I really enjoyed it. There was an immense fun factor to this. You could see the quality was definitely there. But the story itself was, this is the only thing that's really lacking here. The story was really something else to be desired, even with how the game itself looks. I'm going to actually link down below in the description a video that Digital Foundry made where they talked about this game running at 60 frames per second, and what they did was so impressive to get it running. Essentially, they had just major dynamic lighting, and to me, this is what I've told people. I've said, you know, I'm not trying to be, you know, a big fanboy here or anything, but I'm just saying, you know, games for consoles in general, we know that the PS4, the Xbox One, whatever you're playing on, are underpowered for what they are. However, what 343 did was they ended up taking everything, they use it to their advantage, and they learned the system. So, you know, it's not going to be the best looking game all the time. It does look good. However, they use dynamic resolution and scaling to their advantage, but because that, there's also going to be times where you're going to see, you know, some pop in here and there. You might see some low res textures, then suddenly pop into high res, anything like that. But because of that, I would honestly take a hit to the visuals of the game rather than, you know, have it go up and down with frame rate. But it stays locked, and it's really awesome to play through that, especially, you know, playing through the other Halo games that would normally run at 30 frames per second, and then this thing runs at 60. Now, if you're wanting to play this with friends, you are going to have to play online. It is going to be Xbox Live because there is no split screen on this, whether it be campaign or multiplayer. So make your decision wisely when purchasing this game if you decide to purchase it. But if you are playing online, one nice thing they added in, which I've been wanting from the Halo games for so long, was drop-in, drop-out co-op of the campaign. I had no idea this was a thing, my friends had no idea, but the other night I was playing and I decided to jump into my friend's game because I thought he was playing multiplayer, and it was the campaign. And I was freaking out, and I told them, I'm like, I had no idea this was drop in, drop out, and they didn't know either, so we were all shocked with that. Now, with the campaign itself, you know, I went back and I played 1 or 2 levels with them, and despite it, you know, as I said, the story, it's really nothing to be, it leaves a lot to be desired. It still has a great amount of replayability. I want to replay the whole thing right now. I need skulls, I need intel, I need all that stuff. That's what I'm wanting to collect. But even just playing through it with friends, it's still immensely fun to do, and it is something that I would love to play through. So, you know, as I said, there are some things that needed to be improved on, some things that aren't the best on there, but at the same time, this campaign is really fun. Now, what is the other big thing that comes with any staple Halo game? Multiplayer. First off, I will say this game has a noticeably sharper learning curve than other Halo games. So other Halo games, they were definitely, you know, you could drop in, drop out, you could just pick up the controller and play. You can still do it here, but not just me. With everyone I have talked to, they pretty much suck when they start playing this game because it does have a steeper learning curve than the other games. Not that it's impossible, and not that it's on, you know, the other, you know, any other scale, like for example, Counter-Strike Go or anything like that, but it does have a steeper learning curve than the other Halo games, so just keep that in mind. If you suck at the game, just keep playing it. But there's enough variety in the multiplayer component where you'll be able to do what you want to. So first off, there's Arena, which is pretty much your staple game types like Slayer, SWAT, Capture the Flag, and you also have some new game modes, 2 of which, for example, are Strongholds, which is essentially your team needs to capture 2 bases at the same time and hold them down so that you're able to collect points, and then Breakout, which is a lot like Search and Destroy, which is pretty fun to do, but essentially you have to win 5 times, so there's going to be 5 rounds that you need to win, and the thing just keeps going, and you're going, 4v4 on here. You end up shooting. You can either kill the other team, or you can take the flag that's in the middle, that's neutral at first, and just run it to the other side and get your point. So that's pretty fun to play as well. I have been favoring that a little bit recently. Now, another thing that was added in that a lot of people did not know that much about is Warzone. Warzone is kind of like Big Team Battle thrown in with a bunch of other AI players and all that as well too. So this is essentially capturing bases and doing side missions, kind of like attacking Prometheans, Covenant, anything like that. And as I said, this is a lot like Big Team Battle, where that's the kind of unofficial thing there, but it's also a mix of campaign where you're going to have, all the other enemies in there as well too. The best thing I say about this is, if you're playing the multiplayer and you suck at it, like you suck at Arena, play Warzone, because if you can't shoot people that well, you can shoot AI, and if you still can't do that, you can at least help take over bases and hold them down if you want to do things like that. Now, a fair warning, the matches here normally go on for quite a long time. They can go anywhere from like 10 minutes to 25 minutes, so just be prepared to sit there if you are playing this. Now, that is Warzone, where, as I said, Warzone is pretty much, it's symmetrical, it's even on both sides. Now, there's also another spin-off of this, which is Warzone Assault. Now, in regular Warzone, it is symmetrical, it's the same thing. Let's say you take over all the bases, right? Then, your team can now attack the other team's power core, but they can do the exact same thing to you at the same time, if they take over all of your bases or the bases that are on the battlefield. Warzone Assault, one team has a power core they need to defend, the other team is going after the opposing team's power core. So essentially, I've only been on the attacking team, but it's been really fun. The attacking team is coming at you in waves, you need to destroy them, and then what you're doing is you're just, you're blasting through them, you start taking over the bases one by one, and then you're trying to infiltrate their base and get their power core. Personally, I like Warzone Assault a little more, but I like both either way. Now, the other thing you have here are custom games, which are essentially self-explanatory. They're custom games, they've been a staple in Halo as well too, people love them, but one big mode that seems to be missing is Forge mode. Yeah, this game did not ship with Forge mode, which I myself am not a forger, but I know several people that are. And apparently, from what I know, 343 is going to be adding it in later, but Halo 3, Reach, and 4 all shipped with Forge, and this one doesn't, so you're losing some brownie points on me, man. Even if I don't use it, don't be taking away a big feature like that. Come on, that's just not cool. Now, overarching for all of the multiplayer is also a card system, and by that, this is pretty much, these cards that you can collect in packs, or you could either buy them or collect them as you are progressing. They're rec packs, and then you open up these packs and you can get cards, and you could either, exchange them, use them, anything like that. And these are things, so for example, cosmetic mods for your Spartan itself, for your guns, anything like that, but also, they might be XP boosting, and there's also some other ones that will unlock guns and things like that too, so they can help you out in the game and they can push you a little bit faster, but there's some that it's not like it's going to be a super big unfair advantage. You are going to need several of them as well too, just to unlock more weapons, which you will get just by playing through the game. There's also kind of a two-part ranking system in here as well too, where you have your SR or service record rank that is a level, so it's level 1 through whatever the hell it is, and you just get that by playing through the game, getting your XP, completing matches, anything like that. That ranks across everything else, but what you get matched with is your actual class, so your individual rank or class per playlist. So each playlist has something where you can start qualifying, and the better you get and the more you play, essentially it's not even really the more you play, sometimes it is, but it's really the better you become at the game, the higher and more prestigious your rank itself will be. Now, I've been told of, some of the requirements for certain ranks now. I think like the highest rank, you need to be in the top 200 players on that playlist, and it's ranks per playlist, but I also at the same time don't know how well this ranking system is gonna get. Now, I know the ranking system, it will pair you up with other like-minded ranks and everything, but by that I mean I just don't know if in a year it's going to be completely broken, so we'll kind of see on that. Now, what about the gameplay itself and the multiplayer? Well, that smooth 60 frames per second, really rock solid and fun, intense gameplay that I talked about in the campaign carries over to multiplayer. It's the exact same thing as well there too. It's fluid, it's smooth, the controls work really well, everything just carried over to bring over a really nice experience. And there's been, some other things as well too that have been changed. As I said, everything else that I said was added in with the campaign, with how your character plays and moves, that translates over here as well. But the nice thing is, you can tell when you play the game, it's been designed for a more competitive audience. That's why there's also more of a learning curve there. But even little things like, for example, your Spartans on your team, even if you don't have a mic in and you're not talking, they'll actually make call outs, saying this base needs to be taken, this base got taken over, reloading, anything like that. But also where your map is or where your map would be, above it or just in the bottom left corner, there are also little callouts and names for every section of the map you are on, which are commonly used in competitive games, MLG, game battles, anything like that. When you're talking to your team, those are all now available. They are officially named, and you can just look down there and see what's there, which is really awesome. Now, there's plenty of fun maps to explore. There's new game modes as well as older game modes. But the problem right now is that it doesn't feel like there's enough at the same time. Like, it was built really well, the game actually works, it's on dedicated servers and everything, so I haven't experienced any issues with it aside from, one little outage, but it just feels really lacking right now. You don't have that much variety in your arena playlist. You got like 5 or 6 sections right there. You got 2 variants of Warzone. There's no Forge. There's just a lot that should be added in. That's supposed to be added in as well too, because there's going to be a lot of free DLC that's going to be coming out for this game, and because of that, it will be receiving a lot of support. So anything that needs to be not modified, nerfed, anything like that, that's all going to be happening because 343 will be actively supporting this game, but that doesn't really help me out in the now, and it doesn't help, the immediate post-launch version of the game. Now, the funny thing is, with the multiplayer, I pretty much have about the same complaints I have with the campaign on here. It's fun, it's built very well, you can tell there was a lot of care that was put into this, and it actually works. However, there are things that are missing that should be added in, and there's just not that much content-wise right now, so we're still waiting on that stuff, and that's the one big difference right now. Yes, it's not there now, but with multiplayer, it can get added in. Campaign, not so much. That's like a mold. Once you mold it, you're done. You're not doing anything else with it. At least multiplayer can be patched in and shaped, but as I said, right now, I have high hopes for it. I can't wait to see what's going to happen, but at the moment, it's still lacking a bit, so I can imagine people will be getting bored within a week or so. So, my final thoughts on Halo 5. In short, it has a super fun campaign, however, it is short and it leaves a story that has a lot left to be desired. Like, you want more from the story itself. It also has a great to excellent multiplayer component in there as well too, which handles just as well as the campaign, and they have ensured that they will be giving out a lot of free DLC, a lot of free maps, and quite a bit of support on here. However, right now it's quite disappointing because it's kind of the bare bones version of Halo 5. It's kind of like, yeah, no, this is what multiplayer is going to be, and we're giving you guys all this stuff, but right now you guys just got to stick with the bare bones stuff and wait for the real meal to come. There's also no Forge, so again, I'm not a big Forge person, but that means no custom maps. You got custom games, but no custom maps. The funny thing is, though, talking about this, it seems a lot like Halo 2. People criticized the campaign and loved the multiplayer, and the multiplayer got better and improved with support over time, and I have hope for this game, seeing as that could be done. So, is this another Halo 2? Well, no, it's not, because it's Halo 5, and why would they make Halo 2 when they've made it and remade it? No, but in all seriousness, it's not another Halo 2, especially since Halo 2 is a completely different game. It handles completely differently, and it was really, in my opinion, the last Halo game to come out that was basic. And by that I mean, what is Halo 2? It's a guy and a gun and grenades. That's really all there is to it. You got some power-ups here and there, but you can also, take them off the map and everything. You don't have equipment or anything else like that. But it's different. Now, my final verdict on Halo 5 Guardians. What do I think of this? I do want to say I don't rate games. I don't give a number to them because I just stopped doing that a few years ago. I just decided I really don't like doing that because I give my opinion here, and I'm going to kind of word it out as well here too. I think it's a good to great game. That's coming from, you know, a Halo fan and also just looking at it from a game itself. It's good to great. It's a good game, it's solid, but it has the potential to become better, which could be a great or even an excellent title. Now, it's not a super disappointing game, it's disappointing in some aspects, but it's also not, you know, a failure at the same time. It's still very worthwhile to play through and everything, in my opinion. Now, if you are looking for a new game for your Xbox One, you're a fan of shooters, and you want to try something out, have fun with friends, I would recommend picking it up, or at least renting it to see if you like it, if you need a new game. I mean, it's still fun, and as I said, we can only really go up from here at this point. But is it worth, you know, just getting an Xbox One for? Is it really a killer app on the console? I'm not seeing it, honestly. I'm really not. Like, if I bought my Xbox One and only bought Halo 5 and that was it, I'd be kind of disappointed, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, get the Xbox One, get it for other games in addition to Halo 5, but only for Halo 5, even if you're a diehard Halo fan, I think you might even be more disappointed. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario signing off. Thank you all for watching this review. I appreciate it, and let me know what you all thought of this in the comment section, and also what you all think of Halo 5 Guardians. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario signing off for real this time. Later, everyone.